Hello, my name is Miss Klepper, and today I will be reading to you from Alan Gratz's Ground Zero, a novel of 9/11. We will be reading chapter 34, We're Here Because We're Here. We're here because we're here. Rashmina wriggled through the hole in the cave wall and fell clumsily to the floor of another room. She paused for a long moment, scared to move. She had no idea what was in this hidden chamber, but she had to see if it led to some way out. Her mother handed the flashlight to her through the hole. Be careful, Mina Jean. We'll work on widening the entrance from this side just in case, Taz told her, and Rashmina heard him begin to chip away at the rock. Rashmina clicked on the flashlight, and a bright white ghost with soulless eyes stared back at her. Rashmina screamed and dropped the flashlight. Mina Jean, her mother called. Mina Jean, are you all right? Rashmina, Taz called. Rashmina grabbed her chest and waited for her heart to stop trying to thump its way out of her. The flashlight was still on, but pointed away from whatever she had seen, and she was afraid to pick it up again. But the thing was still there, right in front of her in the dark. Rashmina, her mother called again. With shaking hands, Rashmina picked up the flashlight and pointed it up at the ghost. Rashmina exhaled. It wasn't a ghost at all. It was just a statue carved out of white marble with blank, empty eyes. I'm all right, Rashmina told her mother. I just saw something that scared me. I'm all right, she added in English for Taz. The shiny white statue was on the top half of a bare-chested man wearing a toga. His face was young, his nose was long and flat, and his stone hair was curly. Rashmina hadn't seen anything like it before. Islamic art almost never included human figures, so this statue must have been very old. From the time when the Greeks had invaded and ruled Afghanistan, perhaps. But that was thousands of years ago. Had this statue really been sitting here, hidden away in this cave all that time? What's in there? Taz asked. An old statue, Rashmina called back to him, and other things too. Rashmina played the flashlight over the artifacts in the room, relics of times long past she knew only from her history lessons. There was a round brass shield with a black-winged horse painted on it that must have been from ancient Greece. Next to that was a white pith helmet, like the kind British soldiers had worn when they had invaded Afghanistan 200 years ago. Along the far wall were a few old English Enfield rifles, and next to that was a stack of curved bows, like the kind the Mongols had once wielded in their conquer of Afghanistan. There were Soviet weapons here too, rusty old landmines and automatic rifles and belts of bullets. Like the statue, everything was covered by a thin gray dust. Nobody had been in this room a long, long time. On the other side of the wall, Taz sang softly, we're here because we're here because we're here because we're here. We're here because we're here because we're here because we're here. What's that song? Rashmina asked softly. She didn't know why, but this room made her want to whisper. It's nonsense, really, said Taz. Something I heard my sergeant singing years ago when I came back from my third tour of duty. It comes from World War I. The soldiers in the trenches sang it while they were waiting to be sent charging straight into the enemy machine guns. The tune is something we sing on New Year's Eve, Auld Lang Syne. Do you know it? No, Rashmina said. Taz sang another song. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and Auld Lang Syne? The lyrics didn't make any sense to Rashmina, but she didn't ask. She searched the chamber for a way out while Taz kept singing. The soldiers back in World War I, they changed the words of Auld Lang Syne to we're here because we're here because we're here, because they didn't know why they were fighting, he said. You ask me why the U.S. is still here? I think we're still in Afghanistan because we got in and we don't know how to get out. If we stay, it's bad. And if we leave, it's bad. There's no right answer. I think it's the same as those boys back in World War I. We're here because we're here and we don't know how to leave. Taz was quiet for a moment. Rashmina's flashlight moved across old military medals and flags and pennants. Little statues of the Buddha, a bust of Lenin, the Russian revolutionary leader, Greek and Persian and English coins, bits of pottery with colorful drawings, and a British pocket watch, and a furry Russian cap with a red star on it. One of the new guys I knew back at Bagram, a rookie soldier named Garcia, Taz said, he was born after we invaded Afghanistan. He stepped on a roadside bomb that hadn't been there the day before, and now he's dead. He died fighting a war that started before he was born. You have to be 18 to join the army. 18! We're still fighting the same war almost 20 years later, and for what? We're never going to change this place. As Taz's words sank in, Rashmina realized what this room was. This wasn't an arsenal like the cave where she and Passoon had found the Taliban cache. This was a kind of shrine, a memorial to all the armies who had invaded Afghanistan and conquered it, just like Taz and the Americans, only to learn that they could never rule it. Rashmina's flashlight caught some Pashto words pointed on the wall, and she took a step back. The paint was very old and the dialect a little strange. Rashmina could just read the words. It said, "We're content with conflict. We are content with fear. We are content with blood, but we will never be content with a master." "Rashmina, do you see any way out?" her mother called. There was no other entrance to this little room, but there was a little crack in the wall at the back. Rashmina clicked off her flashlight and, yes, she saw a tiny sliver of daylight through the crevice. "This wall," she called, "it leads outside. If we can just break through it." "I'll come through," Taz said. "I can chip away at it like I did this one." Boom, boom, boom. The cave shook with more blasts from above. Apparently, the fighting wasn't over. Dirt and rock rained down from the ceiling of the cave, right around the little hole in the room. The statue of the Greek half-man toppled to the ground with a thud, and the shield clattered as it fell. "I don't think we have time for that," Rashmina yelled to Taz. She spied something in the beam of light, an old Soviet landmine, and it gave her an idea. "Stay there," she told Taz. Rashmina popped the flashlight on the Greek statue's head and carefully, gently dragged the landmine over to the crack in the far wall. She wedged the landmine into the crack and then picked up the Greek shield. The leather straps inside had long since dried out and broken, but Rashmina was still able to hold it up by the metal buckles on its back. Boom, boom. More explosions rocked the cave from above. "Rashmina, what are you doing?" her mother cried from the other side. "The ceiling's falling apart in here." "Get as far away from the entrance as you can," Rashmina called to her mother. "I'm going to try blow a hole in the wall." "You're what?" Maura cried. There was a partial wall toward the back of the chamber, and between that and the shield, Rashmina hoped she would be protected enough from the mine. Now she just needed something to activate it. There weren't any big rocks around, but the bust of Lenin would do nicely. Rashmina picked it up and said a silent prayer. Her hand still stung from the gash, but she swallowed the pain, lobbed Lenin's head toward the landmine, and ducked down behind the wall. The shield held tight over her head. Thunk! Lenin missed. Rashmina closed her eyes, her heart thumping in her chest. She'd been ready for the explosion, and then nothing. Still holding the shield, she got up to get Lenin and try again. Thum, thum, thum. Big explosions outside rocked the cave again, and this time a little piece of the ceiling broke off right above the crack in the wall. The rock fell on the landmine, and kaboom! The landmine exploded, and Rashmina went flying.